Okay, hey guys, so welcome to your first flipped video. We're going to be talking about rational numbers and decimals. So let's talk about what a rational number is. It says a rational number is a number that can be written as a ratio of two integers, a and b, where b is not 0. That sounds confusing. All you need to know is that can be written as a ratio. Let's talk about ratio. Ratio means, and what you should be doing is everything I'm doing on my screen, you should be doing on your screen too. So a ratio is just a fraction. Okay, so 1 over 2. Or it could be side by side with this little colon right here. So it could look like either one of those. Alright, for example, 4/7 is a rational number, as is 37 hundredths, because it can be written as a fraction 37 over 100. See if you can list two fractions that you think will be rational numbers. So I picked 9/10, alright, and I picked 3/4. Something about a rational number you need to know is that it either repeats or it terminates. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But, so just put a little note up there. Repeats or terminates. We'll talk about what terminates means in a little bit. So for right now, it's going to use a calculator, but we're better than a calculator, so we're not going to use a calculator. We're going to find the equivalent decimal form of each fraction. Remember that numbers that repeat can be written as this or this. Remember, this is your fraction bar. That means it will repeat. That's what you put over numbers that you know are going to repeat. So, I want you to see how many of these you can fill in. Pause your video and see how many you can fill in. So, you should have gotten 1/4. That's going to be a gimme fraction by the end of the year. You're going to know that 1/4 is really 25 hundredths. Okay? 5/8, you should have solved and figured out that it was 625 thousandths. 2/3. What did you notice about 2/3? You should have seen it was a repeating decimal. So you should have seen it would be 6, 6, and the sixes would go on for forever. So in order to not have that, we're just going to put our repeating bar over the last number. Alright? 2/9. Oh, yeah, it's repeating. Okay? If you forgot how to change a fraction to a decimal, don't forget that top dog goes in your what? Goes in the house. So your top dog goes in the house. Okay, that just means your numerator goes inside and your denominator goes outside. Just like that. Alright, 12/5. This is called a what? You should have said it was an improper fraction. And if you divided it, you would have gotten 2 4/10. Alright, then it asks you to go the opposite way. It asks you to go from a decimal to a fraction. Alright, I taught my kids that you go from a decimal to a fraction by saying it the proper way. How do you say this? You say this 2/10. So if you say it 2/10, you should be able to write it 2/10. Okay, we know that 2/10 can simplify. Divide by 2, and that's going to give you 1/5. You say this 875 thousandths, so you're going to write it 875 over 1,000. If you simplify this, you're going to realize that it comes down to 7/8. Alright, I know I went kind of fast through that, but that really should be a review from last week, and you just had a test over it, so really that should really be a review. Alright, what do you notice about the digits after the decimal point in the decimal forms of the fraction? It says compare notes with your neighbor. Well, you don't have a neighbor because you're watching this at home. So I want you to take a few seconds and notice what you notice about the decimal points in the decimal forms of the fractions. You should know that they either repeat or terminate. Remember I told you these vocab words were going to be coming back? Repeat. That just means these numbers are going to go on forever and ever and ever. There's a pattern to the numbers, and they're just going to keep going on. Terminate, that is a fancy word for stop. Means stop. That's a vocab word that you're definitely going to need to know. Terminate, stop. Alright, let's look at this reflect question. Consider the decimal, blah, 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 blah. Do you think this decimal represents a rational number? Why or why not? Now don't forget, a rational number means it's either repeating or it terminates. At the top of your paper or here. It repeats or it terminates. It repeats itself or it stops. Alright, well, let's look at this. Do you see it repeating? There's a pattern, but it's not a solid pattern. It's not a pattern that happens over and over, like 6, 6, 6, 6, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So automatically, you know it's not repeating. And does it terminate? Well, these dots right here tell me it's never going to end. So, no, it's not a rational number because BC stands for because. It does not terminate, which means what? Good. Or it does not repeat. Alright, look at this next question you have. Do you think a negative sign affects whether or not a number is a rational number? Use negative 8/5 as an example. Alright, let's talk about it. 8/5, negative 8/5. Let's divide it out. 5 can go in 8 once. Dot, dot, 0, drop, or dot, 0, dot. 5 can go into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. The 0 means my decimal is over. So, I have a negative 1 and 6/10. Does this decimal, do you think a negative sign is going to reflect or going to affect a rational number? I'm going to tell you, no, it does not. Okay? It equals negative 1 and 6/10. The decimal terminates negative numbers can be rational. Alright, if I'm going too fast, pause, rewind, do whatever you need to do. Going on to page 8. You should be on page 8 with me. Do you think a mixed number is a rational number? Explain. If you flip back over, you notice that a rational number can be written as a ratio, which we know is a fraction. So if you have a mixed number, you have a fraction. So, can a mixed number be a rational number? Yes. Because it can be written as a improper fraction, which we just talked about, which is a ratio of two integers. Remember, ratio is another fancy word for a fraction, or it can be side by side. Alright, next section, writing rational numbers as decimals. You can convert a rational number to a decimal using long division. You know, some decimals are terminating decimals. Remember, terminating means to stop because it does come to an end, see? Other decimals are repeating decimals because one or more digits repeat infinitely. Alright, write each rational number as a decimal. Guys, they just walked it through step by step with you. They put top dog in the house. 5 went into the house. 16 can't go into 5, so we put a 0. 16 can go into 50. 16 can go into 50 3 times. 3 times 16 is 48. They subtracted, they got 2. They brought down a 0. They got 20. 16 can go into 20 once. They did 1 times 16 is 16. They subtracted, they got 4. Brought down another 0. Then they said, how many times can 16 go into 40? 16 can go into 40 5 times. 5 times 6, twice. 2 times 16 is 32. Okay, then they subtracted, they brought down another 0. They said, how many times can 16 go into 80? 16 can go into 80 5 times. 5 times 16 is 80, and you have no remainder. That means your decimal terminates. Alright, so the decimal equivalent is 0.3125. Alright, this is a rational number because it terminates. Alright, look at this next one. They want to divide 13 by 33. Alright, same process. They divided it out. I'm not going to do it for you again. You can look at it. You can also do it yourself. But what do you notice? 13 30ths, 33rds goes 3939. What do you know is happening? The numbers are repeating. So therefore, is this a rational number? Yes, your answer should have been yes because your numbers are repeating. It is rational. Guys, we're almost done. I appreciate you being patient. Especially with my horrible voice. It's embarrassing. Right, write each rational number as a decimal. I want you to take a few minutes and I want you to do this on your own. And then press play and check it with me. Alright, you should have seen that 4/7 if you wrote it as a decimal is going to give you something like 5, 7, 1, 4, 2, 8, and it's going to keep going on. What do you know? It does not repeat. Does it terminate? No, because of this. This is a rational number because it can be written as a fraction, but it is not a good rational number. Alright, this rational number, what do you know? It repeats. And this one, you got 0 and 45/100ths. Alright? Mix numbers as decimals. Look. We're done after this. Yay! You can convert mixed number to a decimal by rewriting the fractional part of the number as a decimal. So, Sean rode his bike 6 3/4 miles to the Science Museum. We want to write 6 3/4 as a decimal. Alright, you got two parts. You want to turn the whole number, which is 6, you want to leave that alone. And then you want to take the other part, which is 3/4, and you want to turn that to the decimal. So the step 1 was to turn it to the 3/4 to a decimal. So we did top dog in the house. And you also should know 3/4 is 75/100ths. To prove it to you, okay, we got 75/100ths. Alright, the second part is to rewrite the mixed number as the sum, so that's adding, of the whole part, which our whole part was what? 6, and the decimal part was what? 75/100ths. So it's saying we need to add 6 and 75/100ths. When you add 6 and you add 75/100ths, you get 6 and 75/100ths. Look, we changed this mixed number into a decimal form. Alright, your turn. Again, take some time and do this. Yvonne made 2 3/4 quarts punch. Write 2 3/4 as a decimal. Well, remember we have our whole number, which was 2. We just worked it out. 3/4 as a decimal was 75/100ths. So if you add 2 plus 75/100ths, you'll get 2 and 75/100ths. Is a decimal equivalent? Is a decimal equivalent a terminating? I think they forgot a letter. Is a decimal equivalent to a terminating or repeating decimal? Yes, it is a terminating decimal. Sorry. A terminating decimal. Yvonne bought a watermelon that weighed 7 1/3 pounds. Right, 7 1/3 as a decimal. Well, you know you have 7 plus 1/3 as a decimal. If you divided it out, you should have got 0 and 33 repeating, which will be equal to 7 3/10 repeating, or you could say 7 3/300 repeating. Is a decimal equivalent to a terminating or repeating decimal? Yes, it is a repeating decimal because it goes on forever. Alright, y'all, you have a quiz. It should be above or below this video. I need you to, actually we're doing this in class, so I need you to answer the quiz as a class, and we're going to show you how to press submit. This is what you need to do every time. Every time. It's the only way we can see that you actually watch the video. Alright, y'all. Thank you for picking up with my voice. I am so sorry. I hope you have a great day. Bye.